Hello and welcome to the Truth About Storytelling. This is Tyrene Martinson, poet, podcaster, and author. Today I will be sharing a little bit about life, a little bit about writing, and how I think we can keep on keeping on even in tough circumstances, and that is not meant to be like a terrible, like push type attitude. That is not what I mean by keeping on. Okay, so please give me a little bit of grace and help me find my way to how to say it as I go through my outline on this podcast. So, as I shared in a previous episode, when I came home from Mongolia, things were a little uncomfortable with life. My dad needed some caregiving stuff. There was a lot of things going on, and I honestly had a lot of stress that I struggled with for probably about a week. And I started doing some managed breathing techniques, prayer, affirmations. I asked people to pray for me. I started taking morning walks again, even though it meant I had to wake up a little bit earlier. I asked my husband to help me with some things that he doesn't normally help with. And my writing kind of returned slowly, but mainly at first it was all about journaling and venting and just writing down some wild what if ideas, because that was all I really had the brain space for. And the venting, honestly, for me is a huge relief. Okay, so I know for some people that's not how they're going to handle stress, that writing would not help them handle stress. For me, writing in my journal helps me handle stress. It is not about working on a work in progress. It's not about putting, a lot of words to some project that I plan to produce as a book. Not about that at all. When I am writing in my journal by a hospital bed or on my own in the mornings when I'm just trying to deal with what's going on if life has been a little crazy, no. I'm just venting. It is just total emotional, let it all out on the page type stuff. It's the good stuff and the bad stuff and everything in between. So I keep on keeping on, but it's not necessarily like push to get 1,000 words every day, no matter what. It's not like that at all. Nope, no. I keep on keeping on, meaning I get up in the morning. I might write one or two things. Some of those might just be totally personal things. And then I find the things that I need to help me live my life and to do so with as much love and kindness as possible. So that's what I mean by keeping on. It's not meant to be like a drudgery, a duty, a painful obedience. No. It's just kind of survival mode in those super stressful moments. And for me, writing my journal and being able to vent in my journal is part of survival mode. So I was definitely in survival mode for a few days, almost a week there. And my journal was just a lot of venting. But I did have some what if days, because the thing is, when I ask myself what if questions, or how could this be interesting in another setting, it's like my imagination is giving me a rest and giving me a break. And so I did write some like that in my journal. And I don't know if I'll ever go back to those journal pages. I don't know if I'll ever look at those what if questions that I asked myself. But in that moment, they gave me like a little bit of relief and a tiny bit of joy. And so for me, they were very necessary parts of my days during that time frame. So for all writers out there, and even if you're not a writer, I want to offer up this idea that the writing life does not just have to be about all producing professional fictional entertaining books or professional nonfiction books. It doesn't have to be about all that. I know when I first started writing as a kid, I wrote because I love to make up stories. I wrote because I like to reflect and think about things on paper. I wrote because it gave me both comfort and joy, and it gave me a way to deal with feelings that I wasn't sure what to do with. And so if you're like me, if that's your past at all, I invite you to get back to those roots. Write for stress relief, write for the joy of it, write for the entertainment of it, write for your daydreams. Don't worry about taking it too seriously. And if you're not like me, if that's not your past, I invite you to consider if it could be. And I know we're not all wired the same way. We're all very different people. We all have different strengths, and we have different things that we love and that comfort us. But I'm going to recommend you try writing to vent or to restore your life back to normal if you're in a stressful situation. If your work in progress on some big novel pauses, it's okay. Creativity can still be alive in the margins, in your journals, in the back of your mind, in the moment you take to stare out the window and daydream, or listen to some music that helps you to process your emotions. Creativity is still alive in those moments, even if you feel empty. Your creativity is still there. In fact, I know for a fact that there have been times when I've just come to the end of everything. I can't seem to pick up a pen to write in a journal or do anything or even think anything. I can't even ask one of questions. It's like my brain's on total shutdown. And in those moments, I think it's perfectly not only okay, but a good idea to take a rest. And a true rest. And that might mean like just sitting and doing absolutely nothing. Or listening to my favorite music. Or watching a movie I've seen 20 times again because I like it and it's uplifting. Or watching a 5-minute video that makes me laugh. Staring at some social media for a little while. Now, I don't want to do those things forever because I know for a fact from past experiences for me, this is not necessarily for you, but for me, if I do those things too many days in a row, I actually don't feel better. But if I do those things for like a day or two, when I don't have the bandwidth to do anything else, I usually start to slowly come back. And then I kind of challenge myself to do one thing, like the third day through the total stress time. So on the third day, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to write one sentence in my journal, or I'm going to go outside and take a walk and take a picture of something I think is pretty with my phone. That's it. I'll just do one thing. And again, when I start to feel a little bit better, I might try to do something else, or I might try to go to something or meet with friends in a way that's life-giving and really lifts me up. And so I slowly build back creativity. And sometimes, for example, I realize I need to start taking some what's called solo artist dates. So I did that recently. I was feeling like, oh my gosh, I've barely written in my journal. It's just all been venting, and I haven't really done the things that I want to do. I remember one of my strengths that I shared a couple weeks ago on here is that I have the achiever strength. Well, the problem with having the achiever strength in the Clifton Strengths group of strengths is that I tend to want to achieve something every day. It's like I don't feel like I'm fulfilled if I don't achieve something. Now, I'm not saying everybody feels like that, but I feel like that. Okay, so I was like, I haven't achieved anything, and I was feeling stressed about stuff that was going on, but I was feeling stressed about not having achieved something. I'd been giving myself a break. So I decided that what I would achieve was that I would give myself a day to fill my creative well. I'd give myself at least 4 hours to fill my creative well. Like I was kind of bargaining with myself a little bit. And I took that day and I drove to a nursery on the Key Peninsula. It's called the Brothers Greenhouse Nursery, and they have it's a beautiful, beautiful nursery. Just tons of plants. They have free coffee and cookies, little like half cookies and little mini apples. They were so nice, so nice. Everybody I met there was kind and gracious. Yeah, I know they work there, but for me it was like, it was so nice. Everybody was just so nice. The plants were beautiful. It was managed to be a sunny day, even though I wasn't sure I could expect that. And on their grounds, near the back of the nursery, they have this little tiny hobbit house. And that was part of the reason I drove there to go see it, because I'd been wanting to go see it for a long time. So I decided this was a good way to like fill my creative well, because I love The Hobbit. I love like little Hobbit house places. And so I went there and I took pictures of it, and I took pictures of some of the plants, and I just allowed myself to kind of soak in the atmosphere. And then I bought some little mint plants and some thyme, and, decided I would do some gardening when I got home or the next week. And then from there, I went to a coffee shop, and I said if I wanted to, I would write in my journal. But if I didn't want to, I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just hang out. And while I was there, I wrote like one page in my journal. It was still just mostly emotional type stuff and thinking about things and reflecting on stuff that had happened. But then I wrote a whole other page about going to the nursery and how good it felt to go there. And that helped me start to kind of recover from the stress stuff I was going through. So I started this talking about, trying to keep going. But what I mean by keep going is just simply get up and decide to live every day, even in the midst of stress. And if I can add some joy into that with some creativity, then I consider that a huge win, especially in the midst of big stressful situations. And again, for me, I went through a couple weeks there that were pretty stressful as I was learning about kind of the new normal in my life, helping my parents a little bit more, driving them a little bit more, doing more things for them, as well as making sure that they had help to do other things. And so for a couple weeks, my life was just full of figuring things out. And my house got messy. My writing stopped on any of my projects. And what writing I did in my journal was just venting, really, more than anything else. And occasionally writing prayers and scriptures out, and writing things I was thankful about, because that kind of helps me get through things. But even with all of that, there were a few days I couldn't even fathom doing that kind of writing. And I had to take a break. I had to just let myself watch a movie, let myself sit and stare at the sunlight and the shadows playing on the floor of my living room. I had to just take a moment and do some deep breathing, and then go outside for a walk, and then plan a day to fill my creative well, and then go do it. Like, I almost didn't go to do that day. I almost didn't go to the nursery. I had to like argue myself into it. That morning, I was like, well, I don't really need to go. And I was like, no, I do. I need this. I need to get out of the house. My parents at the time had some caregivers coming in for those hours. And I was like, I can go. I can go do this. I can find something that gives me joy and relax for a little while. And I did. And it made a huge difference for me. So sometimes, even though it seems like the opposite thing of what we should be doing, or, should, it's a terrible word, but it's there. It seems like the opposite thing of what we think we need to do. Sometimes what we need to do is either absolute rest, or a rest that includes filling our creative well, whether that's through a walk outside, or going to a nursery, or going to some other place that just fills us up in some way creatively, or listening to some music that we really love. I mean, there are ways that we can fill our creative well, and sometimes we need to. And that helps us to be able to return to whatever hard thing we're doing, and start to think about maybe what our new normal looks like. So for me, knowing that I couldn't know all the details of what caregiving would look like ahead from my parents, I thought about creating what I call a master plan. I like planning. It's one of my things. And I don't mean planning like outlines. I like creating these big bubble maps and then rearranging things and thinking about what's possible. It's something that makes me happy. So if it doesn't make you happy, don't do that kind of thing, okay? But it's something that makes me happy, because, again, one of my strengths is ideation. Another one is strategic thinking. So I like to think about how to do things, and I like to brainstorm ideas. So I brainstormed a bunch of ideas about how things could look moving forward while I was doing more caregiving for my parents. And I kind of came up with some different ideas. And one of the things I realized is that I really needed to get outside every day, and I needed to go for walks in the morning. And that meant that I had to wake up earlier than I've been waking up. And I might have to drive to a place I could walk because I live on a country road, and at certain times in the morning, it's pretty busy with commuters leaving neighborhoods that are down the country road. Oddly enough, there are fields and then there are neighborhoods down my road. There's a combination of both. But sometimes there's a lot of traffic of people trying to leave their homes and get to work. So I thought, okay, I can walk in my neighborhood, but I also could take a drive to go to the downtown area of where I live and walk there, where I know it's well lit and I know that there are more people walking. So I could go early in the morning and go walk there. So for now, I've decided I'm going to do that at least part of the time for my morning walks. And I'm also going to find some other ways to get outside and walk in the morning, or get outside and move in the morning, maybe by riding my bike, which I have some flashing hazard lights on. So I'm looking at ways that I can be safe and get outside every single day in the morning before the day really starts. Even when I'm exhausted and I haven't had coffee and I might not really be with it yet, it's kind of like, just get the shoes on and get outside. Just get out there, get some fresh air, get some sunlight when it first comes up. And so I've been trying to do that, and that has really helped me. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just saying I sat down and came up with ideas and strategized about what I needed to do. You might need to do something different if you're in a moment of stress. It's entirely up to you. It's your life. I'm not trying to give you a prescription. Okay, I'm just describing how I kind of got from A to B, as far as from a place of total stress to being able to move around and do things again. And so I knew I needed to be outside. I knew I needed to walk or move in the morning. And I knew I wanted my writing time back. And I wanted to write creatively. Now, not everybody who's in these type of moments wants to be able to do that kind of thing, and that's fine. If you need or want a longer break, take it. Take it. The world isn't going to end. Life is not going to end if you take a longer break from your writing, if you're a writer. It just is. Sometimes you need a bigger break. But I knew I wanted to get back to writing, and so I thought about how I could do that and what I needed to do that, and I brainstormed a bunch of different ways for how I could get back to it, and I kind of made a plan. And at first I didn't start the plan because it was kind of the wrong plan, and then I had to re-strategize, come up with more ideas. But again, I like coming up with more ideas, and I like strategizing, so that was actually kind of fun. And I rewarded myself for doing that. I'd be like, yes, I did this. And I wrote it on my accomplishment list. I was like, I came up with ideas. I came up with the strategy. I tried this other thing. And I just kept going. And one of the things I realized as I was creating this plan of how I was going to do things is that I really wanted to keep podcasting. And it may seem strange because I'm standing by myself in my office, basically just speaking into a microphone, right? What's exciting about that? I don't know. But for some reason, I really, really like it. So I didn't want to give this part up. Because one of the things I'm looking at right now is that my life has become more full. My schedule has become more packed. I need time to be able to do my part-time job. I need time to write. I need time to get outside and exercise. I need time with family and friends. I need time to be able to help my parents at this time in their lives. I need time to be able to go on vacation somehow too. So I'm looking at all of that and thinking about what's the best strategy. And is there something, I'd ask myself, is there something I can get rid of? And I knew I didn't want to get rid of podcasting. I knew I didn't want to get rid of writing because it really fills me with joy most of the time. I have to admit, not all the time. Sometimes they're just writing tasks that we do that we just have to do, right? Ugh. But most of the time, certain types of writing fills me with joy. And I just have fun with it. It actually helps my brain relax to escape into an imaginary world. And so that's true if I read or if I write or watch a movie or come up with weird ideas. That it relaxes my brain. That's who I am. Again, one of my strengths, ideation, strategy, those fit really well with writing. And again, they give me joy. And when I lean into them, I feel really good. Now, that's not the production side. That's harder for me. So, right now, I decided that the main thing I want to do is create. And I want to come up with ideas and I want to work on my ideas. And I'm going to dig into that because, again, it gives me joy. But one thing I decided I would give up is I would give up TikTok. I deleted my account and took it off my phone. Even though I'm still on Facebook, I actually deactivated the app on my phone. And I looked at all of the things I do on my phone, and I decided to put wellness parameters on all of them. My phone has a little wellness section, and so there are specific time limits for almost every app I use on my phone because I don't want to be on my screens that much other than when I'm podcasting and when I'm writing. I decided that I really want to take away some of that stuff and focus on the creativity and the ideation and the strategy that gives me the most joy, because I really need joy right now. It's not just that I kind of want it. No, I need joy. I need the comfort that I find in playing to my strengths right now. And by playing to my strengths, again, it doesn't mean I'm going to get all the things done. I can't do all the stuff I was doing before. It's okay. Again, right now, I love ideation. I love strategy. So I'm having a lot of fun working my master plan, thinking about what it looks like moving ahead and think about what I can take out and what I can add in and how I will achieve the goals that I have for myself overall. Also taking a good look at those goals and deciding which ones really matter to me. One of the things I want to do is I want to live life fully. I want to love the people that I care about deeply. I want to have fun. I want to go outside and I want to create and keep creating. So those are some of my priorities. And I really looked at my goals, really looked at my schedule and thought about how I could make those things happen in the midst of whatever life throws my way. And so I've been really working at creating this master plan, which I don't know, maybe I'm not going to do all the things on it, but I'm okay with that. It's kind of one of the weird things about being really into ideation and strategy is I don't actually care if I do all the things. I just like coming up with a lot of things and then prioritizing from there and choosing from that list. It's fun to me. Now, again, as I've said before, one of my top 5 strengths is being an achiever, and I'm going with Clifton strengths, by the way. One of my top 5 strengths is being an achiever, and that means I really like feeling like I've achieved something every day. I think one of the reasons I love to podcast is that I know I can achieve a podcast in a certain amount of time in a day. I can do it as long as I'm okay with winging it like I am right now. I have an outline. I'm just going for it between each outline bubble. And then I can finish it. I can do a quick edit on it. And the next day I can upload it and do all the other things to it. But there are short, achievable tasks within that. Now, I'm not going to do all the fancy things with podcasting, obviously. Right now, I feel like this is very obvious. I'm not doing all the fancy things with podcasting. I'm doing a very simple, straightforward, shoot from the hip podcast, and that's the kind that I like doing at this point. I do really want to start interviewing people. So I'm going to be working at how to do that. And that's part of enjoying the fullness of relationships and really showing people that I care about them. I do want to do that. That's one of my goals. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to fit that in with everything else. I haven't quite gotten there yet because, again, shooting from the hip podcasting is a lot different and a lot easier, I think. So right now my focus is how to find joy in the edges, in the margins, in and around all the things that are going on in my life, but also putting some of it as much as possible on my daily schedule and making it happen. Now, I'm pretty happy with making a walk happen. I'm pretty happy with making an outside time happen. I'm pretty happy with making sure I get some creative time in every day because it makes me happy, like the joyful creative time. The achievement of some of the other stuff, all the little paperwork things, that's pretty hard, but I am working on it. Now, one of the things that I really wanted to do this year is to run a Kickstarter campaign. And I started getting excited about that, and I talked about it in one of my podcasts earlier this month. I think it was one that I pre-recorded while I was still tired before I got into this different new way of life with all the different things going on. So I want to mention that again here and say that yes, I will do a Kickstarter. And yes, the rest of the Darkblade trilogy is going to come out. And yes, they will have new covers. But my pre-launch campaign is going to run anywhere between a couple of months and 6 months, because I might need to give myself that much margin to be able to actually run a campaign. The pre-launch campaign time, I figure I can keep building stuff up in the background on that pre-launch campaign. But once the campaign launches, from my understanding, successful Kickstarter campaigns have people who are just like managing them like around the clock, 24/7 in just this intense, incredible way. And for some reason, that actually kind of terrifies me, partly because I haven't done it before. And, well, I did try to run a Kickstarter campaign before, and it wasn't successful because I didn't manage it that way, and maybe also because it was poetry. But again, if I'm going to try to run this really intense Kickstarter campaign, I can't plan on that right now. That's just not where my life is right now. I can do a pre-launch campaign. I can set things up for a campaign. I can ask for people to join that pre-launch campaign, but I don't know that I can run a live campaign at this moment. So right now, I'm focused on creativity. I'm focused on finishing the trilogy. When I sit down to work on, what do I call it, a serious project. It is a serious project to me, but it's meant to be entertaining and fun and joyful. And so focusing on the entertaining and fun and joyful aspects of the project. I'm focused on those aspects because I know that those things really are giving me comfort and joy and entertainment. And so I'm focused on that stuff, and I will work on the finishing production part at a later time. So right now I'm figuring out this new life of my new normal, doing some caregiving for my parents, still trying to figure out how to get back to my part-time job a little bit more regularly, and continuing to find joy in creativity. But I'm going to keep podcasting because I love it. I'm going to keep writing because, again, it's been giving me joy. I'm going to keep getting outside because it gives me joy. But I'm going to pull back on social media. I'm going to just do a slow pre-launch campaign for Kickstarter and run it when I think I'm going to have the bandwidth to really pay attention to it. So if you've been listening to me for a while now, it's a longer episode than I planned, and you're like, where are the writing prompts? When is she going to give me something I can use? All right, here we go. Think of a hard season in your character's life. How do they handle it? What do they do? What are their go-to comforts? Are they a sword fighter who just goes and obsessively polishes their sword? Do they go and spar with someone to let off steam? Do they bake something? Which, I don't know, a sword fighter could be a baker on the side. You never know. If you don't write fantasy and you don't write sword fighting or adventure type fantasy, what does your character do when they're going through a hard time? Where do they eke out moments of calm and comfort? Who do they go to for calm and comfort? In a romance, you can definitely imagine that your characters might run to each other in those moments of stress, or maybe one runs away and the other one chases them, and then they finally find comfort in each other. It's up to you how you handle that. If you're writing a thriller or suspense, especially, what does your character do in moments of severe stress? How do they handle it? Do they have a strange habit that they do? Do they pick at their fingernails? Do they take deep breaths? Do they do a particular breathing method that they've learned helps them deal with stress? How do they handle it? Again, so if your character is under stress, what do they do? How do they handle it? What is their go-to thing? Do they drink coffee obsessively? Do they go run to a friend? Do they go run to their romantic interest? Do they go and work out for a long time? What did they do to find comfort? How do they handle that moment? And for those of you who don't write fiction, or for those of you who do, for your own self, how can you give yourself grace as a writer? And what form of writing or creativity could help you process the tough times? What would be your go-to, if that makes sense? So remember that writing doesn't have to be just about production. It can be restoration, if that works for you. And if that doesn't work for you, take a break. Find something that does restore you and help you feel comfort and help you find joy. So shift from word count goals in those stress times and just think about what gives me joy. What are my joyful things that fill my creative well? So thank you for joining me. I hope that this episode is of service to you and helps you in your writing life. And I know that I forgot to share my last 10 things about Mongolia, so I might actually do that this Wednesday, but I'm also going to share another writing prompt on Wednesday and then another writing prompt on Friday. So thank you for joining me. This is Tyreen Martinson with The Truth About Storytelling. If you like this podcast, please subscribe. And if you're watching it on YouTube or Rumble, please hit like and then subscribe. That would be kind of awesome. You can find my work or some of my work at my website, tyreentales.com. And you can find me a little bit on socials, but obviously not very much anymore, at least not in this particular season. If I'm around, it'll probably be to post something about walking or something like that. So just to give you a heads up on that. Again, thanks for joining me.